Welcome back to another video where today we're going to be doing a heater core flush on my Ram 1500. So with the cold weather just around the corner, I noticed late last year that my heat in my truck wasn't as good as it was at the beginning of the winter season. So I've decided what I'm going to do this year is, while the weather's still warm, I'm going to flush out the heater core on my Ram. So I'm going to take you guys along and show you how I go about doing that. So what we're going to do is pop open the hood, and I'm going to show you where the heater core hoses run from and to, and then I'm going to show you how I'm going to flush them. So on the Ram 1500, the heater core hoses come from down in the front of the engine here, where the water pump and thermostat are. They run underneath and they come back up into the rear here on the passenger side of the vehicle, where they go into the heater core, which is located in the dash. So it is kind of a tight location to get to with the air box and the hose here in front. So what I'm going to do is actually just disconnect this hose here and pop the front of the air cleaner box off, so I can get a little bit easier access to the back of the hoses, and you'll be able to see a little bit better in the rear where the hoses are when I remove these components. So what I'm going to do while I have the throttle bodies exposed is I'm just going to stick a little bit of paper towel in there so I don't get any debris inside, and we're going to pop the top of this box off now. So now that I've got a ton of free room here, what I can do is actually reach the two hose clamps here on the rear. So you have two hoses back here. The top one is the inlet and the bottom is the outlet. So what I did the last time I ran the truck up to operating temperature is I felt the hoses to see if I could feel a temperature difference, and I definitely could feel that the inlet hose was hotter than the outlet hose. So we know the heater core probably has a bit of a small plug in it, just some buildup and some debris. So what we're going to do is disconnect these two hoses here, and we're going to flush the hoses out using a garden hose. So just to give myself even a little bit more additional room, I removed the beauty cover here, and it just clips on by a couple of pull pins here and on the matching opposite side. So now I have tons of room here to access both hose clamps. So what we're going to do is remove both hoses, and I have a clear hose that I'm going to attach. We're going to start by back flushing. So we're going to go onto the bottom line first, and we're going to back flush the heater core. So this is by far the trickiest part of doing this, is getting the hose clamps off so you can remove the hose. So I have two different sets of pliers. I'm going to see which one works the best for me. So that actually wasn't too bad when I removed all the stuff here. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to actually cover up the ECM here, and then I'm going to disconnect my two heater hoses. So I've covered up my ECM here, and what we're going to do is start with the top hose, and I'm just going to kind of wiggle and twist. You want to kind of be gentle here because you don't want to snap either of the nipples that go into the heater core. So sometimes getting the hoses removed, if they've never been off, is a bit tricky. So I had a couple different sets of pliers. I had a set of hose ones as well as some 45 degrees. So what I did was gripped the hose where it connects with the nipple and twist back and forth. That helps break off the connection here. So we've got our top one off, and we're now gonna twist off and remove the bottom one. So we can see now that I twisted that hose, I'm able to remove it. So we now have the top and bottom hose here removed. So now that I have both the hoses off, we've got a couple items here we're going to use to flush the system. So I have 2 runs of hose. One is a lot longer, which we're going to connect for the drain end, and we're going to run it down to the ground to make sure that we're not getting any coolant on the ECM, on any of the coil packs, anything like that. We've got our shorter end, which we're going to use to flush the system. And what I have is a garden hose barb with a 5/8 connection and a ball valve. So we can control the water going in and out. So we can flush the system, shut the water off, and crack it open quick to allow the pressure to continue to push some of the coolant and junk out of the heater core here. So because we're going to back flush the system first, we're going to connect to the top hose with this clear one. So I'm just going to run this down past the frame here. So we have the one on the top connected. So we're now going to connect the bottom one for the back flush to start. And now we have the bottom one connected. So we're going to connect our barb to the garden hose, and then we'll get that installed in here too. So I just realized I lost the first bit of footage here showing me back push the system, but if we look now, I do have clean water running into the heater core here going backwards, which is good. So we're going to switch the lines around. So I now have the hoses reversed. So we're going to flush the system forward on the inlet side. So going from off to on allows the hose to build pressure back up, and it's allowing you to push out any debris here. So we have pretty clean water coming out both directions. So I'm just going to back flush it one more time, and then I feel pretty confident that we got any grime and debris out of the heater core. So the hoses are reversed one more time, and we're going to back flush the system again. So I feel really confident we have nice clean water coming back out. And the big thing running the longer hose and running it down past the frame is we've really minimized any excess water on any of the electrical components in the engine bay. So we're just going to remove the 2 clear hoses that we set up. So now that we've flushed the system, what we're going to do is put everything back together. So we're going to start with our lower hose, because that's going to be the trickier one to get back on and to get the clamp back on. So it will be easier to get this clamp back on with the upper hose out of the way. So let's do that. So now that we have the hoses back on the heater core, we're going to put everything in the engine bay back together, and then we're going to run the vehicle and let it get up to operating temperature with the heat on. So we now have the paper towel pulled out of the throttle body, and we've got the connector back onto the air box. We've got the beauty cover back on. The hoses are back in place and connected. So we're going to open up the cooling system now, and what we're going to do is run the vehicle and allow it to get up to operating temperature to bleed out any air that's inside of the heater core. So we're going to run the vehicle with max heat on at the windshield. So we now have the vehicle running with the air on max at high temp, and we've got the cooling system open here. So we're going to allow this to run up to operating temperature, bubble out any air that's in the heater core. And in case we need to fill the system back up, I have some OEM Orange 2, which is a Mopar coolant that you can use. So we've now allowed the vehicle enough time to run up to operating temperature, and we topped up just a little bit of coolant because we lost a bit that would have been in the heater core. And now looking at the temperature, we switched to the front gauge here, and we've got some pretty good heat coming out of the vehicle now, more than we had before we started. And so now that we are confident we've gotten any air out of our system, we're going to reinstall our rad cap, and we're good to go. So this has been a pretty easy tutorial showing you how to flush out the heater core on your Ram 1500 with no specialty tools needed at all. So if you have any questions about this process, leave me a comment, like, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.